Have you ever been in a situation where someone asks you to play the harp, or maybe you volunteer to go up on stage, and then you get up there and everything just falls apart? It's a common experience, and in this video, I'm going to help you avoid that situation so the next time you have an opportunity to play in front of people, you actually succeed and the music just flows from you effortlessly. So hey, my name is Jonah Fox, and if this is our first time meeting, I teach harmonica players how to play blues and rock music. And today we're talking about performing, and let's get right to the point. When you play in front of other people, you need, the confidence to play in front of them, but you really need a high degree of skill and physical conditioning to succeed. And if you lack that, if you're even kind of inadequate with that, it's very likely you're going to fail. It's going to happen. It's also preventable. And in this video, I want to help you better prepare for these moments so you actually succeed. Now, first of all, I want to acknowledge that if this has happened to you in the past, you are not alone. Every musician that has played in front of other people has, at some point in their lives, made a mistake and been embarrassed about it. It's just part of the learning process. And when this became very real to me, I was playing on stage during a class in music school. I was a guitarist, and I learned a song that I thought was really cool. It was a finger-style guitar piece with some French vibes. I loved it, and it went decently well. When I was practicing, I was able to read through the whole song. I thought I was ready, but once I got up on stage, my body knew that I wasn't ready. The nerves really hit me. My hands were shaking and I was starting to sweat. And it took me until the moment that I was under the hot, blinding stage lights to realize that I did not know this song and this was going to fail. But it was my time to play. And about 15 seconds later, it was also my time to stop because it totally fell apart. Oh, I was so embarrassed. And I think many of us get into the harmonica because it seems rather easy. And in the early days, it is rather easy. But when you want to play a song in front of a group, note for note, or you want to improvise with new people that you've never played with before, you realize you have to learn things in a much deeper way for you to be successful with that experience. Back to my story, the reality is I just didn't learn that song well enough. Also, I always practice it sitting down, but I played standing up. I also didn't really know the timing nearly as well. Like the notes were there, but the timing wasn't. Because of these problems, I failed. And I want to make these things clear to you in this video. We're going to talk about learning songs and then how this is a little different for improvising. So let's talk about learning songs. Now, learning songs on the harmonica is kind of tricky. Like, I'll be real with you. This is a hard instrument to learn songs on. I mean, if you think of like a pianist, they have books of music that they can go and learn and everything's written out. Guitarists have software that they could press play on and hear everything and all of the notes and the rhythms are notated. We don't have that. We have a lot of tabs that are written by amateurs, and it's just not very useful. And to make things even more complicated, you can play things in multiple positions, and harmonica music in reality is pretty complex. There's a lot going on here. Now, to succeed with this, you really need a process of learning songs that works for you. Now, when I learn songs, I personally love to use transcription programs. These are programs that allow you to slow a song down, and I use them to tab a whole song myself by ear. I find that if I rely on someone else's tabs, I miss out on all of the subtle details that exist in the music, so I have to do it myself. Essentially, this process works like this. You download the MP3 of the song somehow. You could do it by buying it on different platforms, or you can get it from YouTube, and then you add that song into your transcription program. I recommend AnyTune, and from there you isolate individual loops of the song and you repeat them over and over at slow tempos, and you write and you revise the tabs as you go until you get them correct. And then you train them. You play along with the program until you can play each individual loop properly, and then you put the whole thing together. Now, you don't need to follow this process, but whatever process you do follow, you need to be able to actually pick up all of the nuances of the song. Like, are you holding your notes long enough? Are you missing some notes or some subtle bends? Are you messing up the timing in a certain section, and that little timing error throws off the whole song? These are things that you have to work out in practice before you go up on stage. It doesn't mean that winging it never works. I mean, the more experienced you are, the higher the chances are that you can just wing it and have it work out. But as you're learning, you need to spend a lot of time on this. And even though harmonica seems like it's an easy instrument in some ways, it's still an instrument, and learning songs well on an instrument just takes a lot of effort. Which brings me to my second point. You need to practice the songs that you learn until you can play them from memory. It takes time to memorize songs, and you do want to memorize them, because if you're reading the tabs on stage, you probably don't know the song very well. You're not being very present, and when you're not present, you're not playing your best. And when you're more focused on things, there's more things that can go wrong, okay? Now, to take a song that you're learning and to play it from memory, you just have to learn each little section and then try to recall each section from memory, and you eventually just chunk it up to the whole song. It does take time, but this is how you do it, right? It's worthwhile doing. It will make you so much more present when you play on stage. Now, finally, I suggest that you practice in performance mode, and here's what I mean. If you want to play a song in front of other people and you are going to be standing up on stage and you've only ever practiced sitting down at your computer looking at tabs, then the change in environment and mindset is very likely to throw you off, and you're way more at risk of failing because it's just kind of a different physical experience for you. If you're going to be standing, then play the whole thing by memory, standing up. If you're going to be using a microphone, then practice it with a microphone. As you are getting ready for a bigger performance, you got to practice it like you're playing it, or there are just things that are going to throw you off. Remember, we want to just remove all of the little things that have the potential to distract us and to take us out of a place of confidence and flow. Now, this does take some time, but this is what players do when they have a big performance. And if you've been trying to play a song in front of people and you haven't gone through these steps, it's not really a surprise, at least to me, that it hasn't worked out. Now, let's talk about harmonica playing in a more improvisatory context. Let's say you're going on stage at an open blues jam, and you want to do a good job, but you go up there and you don't know the song and you've never played with these people and you can't follow along with the band. And then you feel very challenged and stressed and you fail. This is an experience I've heard a lot from students, and I've experienced it myself before too. So what do you do to make this situation better? Well, first, you need to be able to improvise over backing tracks. If you can't play over backing tracks to a degree that you're happy with, then playing with real musicians is going to be a lot harder. Now, backing tracks and playing with real people, it's a very similar experience, but there's more flexibility and dynamicism when playing with real people, right? There's more of a push and a pull. Some player might do some weird thing and you just have to deal with that in the moment. And you need to develop this flexibility in yourself. And the way that I would suggest you do it is to just get used to improvising on a regular basis, and you play over a wide variety of music at home. Like, if you've only ever played to blues shuffles and a slow blues comes up and you don't know how to handle it, well, yeah, you're going to be confused. If you've never successfully played a minor blues and that comes up in a set list, you're not going to know what to do. You got to figure these problems out at home. Next, you need to be confident in your ability to control your harmonica and play well while improvising. So this is a bigger topic than I can cover in this video. But essentially, it boils down to you knowing your scales, right? I talk about scales a lot on this channel, and there's a reason. It makes a huge difference. And being able to make musical phrases with those scales, and then having some vocabulary, some ideas in your head in the form of riffs and licks and turnarounds that you can fall back on. Now, if you'd like some help learning your scales, which is probably the biggest thing that you can do to improve your control on this instrument, then check out my free scale cheat sheet. It's free. The link's down below in the description. It's just going to give you all the notes and show you how to practice your scales. The next thing you should consider is that you need to be able to handle mistakes when they come up. Mistakes are inevitable. Even the best musicians in the world make mistakes. But what separates a pro musician from an amateur musician in an improvising context is that the pro musician will make mistakes, but you'll never even know about them because they're playing a kind of magic trick on you. When they make a mistake, they just gracefully flow to the next note, or they repeat the mistake and make it a feature and not a bug. This is something that you can practice very clearly. Here is an intentional improvising exercise that you can try. Put on a backing track and try to make music while staying within one scale. And then if you play a note that sounds really sour to you, it's going to happen at some point, immediately move to the next adjacent note in the scale. You can do this and take something that sounds off, but then immediately correct it. So like if I'm playing and you're like, ooh, that note right there sounded really bad, you want to just go to the next note that you know that works. If you can turn this into a reaction, then mistakes won't throw you off. And in the same way, when you're playing with other people and something happens that's unexpected, you won't be thrown off in the same way too, because you've just developed a certain degree of resilience to making mistakes so that when things get a little weird and uncomfortable, you keep your cool and you keep playing. The moral of the story is that you need to spend enough time in the woodshed developing your skills so the pressure and the unpredictability of playing live doesn't throw you off. That's about all for this week. If you want to learn more about that song transcription process that I mentioned, you can watch this video up here. And if you're new to improvising, then you might want to watch this video up here where I show you how to get started with improv in 1 week. That's all for now. I'll see you next time. Peace.